The HOA believed they could intimidate me with fabricated regulations and hollow threats, unaware they were targeting the county's highest law enforcement authority. What they failed to comprehend was that I represented more than just another property owner. I served as our jurisdiction's police commissioner. When they overstepped legal boundaries, they would discover that legitimate authority doesn't yield to imaginary power structures. Before we explore this further, share which country you're watching from today. Let's observe how extensively this narrative spreads. Everything commenced when Margaret, our HOA chairperson, initiated her authority demonstration. She conducted neighborhood inspections carrying documentation, waiving counterfeit regulation letters like operating governmental administration. She asserted authority to penalize me for parking arrangements on my personal driveway, despite my vehicle being properly registered, meeting inspection standards, and legally positioned according to state transportation statute 22507, which explicitly states HOA cannot supersede municipal parking regulations. When I declined payment, Margaret escalated dramatically. She appeared at my entrance with two individuals wearing collared shirts, identifying themselves as HOA compliance agents. They displayed imitation credentials resembling office supply printouts and cautioned me, "Sir, without your cooperation, we must detain you for HOA code violations." That represented my initial warning indicator: detention. Associations lack detention authority. Only certified law enforcement personnel possess this power under State Penal Statute A30. I permitted them to complete their presentation while my recording equipment documented each statement. I participated in their performance, feigning confusion, requesting repetition of their assertions. Every falsehood they added merely accumulated additional evidence against them. But internally, I already prepared my response. Because if Margaret intended to weaponize counterfeit authority, I stood ready to deploy the authentic variety. Then, circumstances intensified rapidly. The following morning, a marked security vehicle entered my driveway with activated amber lighting. The same two imitation agents emerged, this time carrying plastic restraints like preparing to transport me. They hadn't yet identified who they confronted. The two so-called agents strutted up my driveway like property owners, holding synthetic restraints as though possessing legal power to secure me. One demanded, "Sir, under HOA enforcement protocol, you face detention. Comply or we'll employ physical measures." I nearly laughed out loud. HOA enforcement protocol? Such authority doesn't exist. Under federal legislation, impersonating officers constitutes serious criminal offense. They weren't merely bluffing. They committed felonies directly on my premises. I raised my hands casually, pretending cooperation. Understood, I stated, descending my porch steps. But the moment they reached for me, my training activated. I seized the first individual's wrist, rotated, and directed him groundward before he processed the situation. His knee joint audibly dislocated. He screamed, grasping the injury while attempting to crawl toward their imitation patrol vehicle. The second individual charged forward with trades prepared. I shifted balance, hooked his ankle, and sent him sprawling face first onto the paving surface. His knee impacted violently, dislocated upon contact. He howled, struggling to achieve upright position, but when he moved, the joint failed completely. Both men crawled currently, moaning in discomfort, pleading for no additional contact. I didn't require no further action. They were already neutralized. I retrieved my authentic credentials, those issued by the jurisdiction, not laminated at printing establishments. I crouched adjacent to them and stated calmly, "You gentlemen just impersonated police officers, trespassed, and attempted illegal confinement. That indicates you both confront incarceration periods." Their complexions drained. The tough individual performance evaporated instantly.
While they remained grounded, I contacted dispatch. Within minutes, 2 of my actual officers arrived, weapons ready, sirens audible. They secured the impersonators, articulated their rights, and loaded them into the law enforcement vehicle rear compartment. Neighbors observed through window coverings, whispering, recognizing this transcended HOA drama currently. This represented criminal apprehension. But the most satisfying development remained forthcoming, because those 2 weren't operating independently. Someone within the association had dispatched them, and I already identified precisely whom. If this authority confrontation narrative engages you, please like and follow Winds of Thought, because the legal outcomes become increasingly substantial. At the station, the imitation agents confessed almost immediately. During interrogation, one admitted they weren't independent operators. Someone within the association had guaranteed them significant compensation to discipline me. That individual represented none other than Margaret Vance, the HOA chairperson. I felt unsurprised. Margaret had targeted me since I cited her daughter last year for dangerous driving violations. She believed she could utilize intimidation to pressure my neighborhood departure, perhaps even damage my professional standing. Instead, she connected her identity to federal prosecution. The charges accumulated rapidly. Impersonated police officers, federal legislation, conspiracy, attempted unlawful confinement, and trespassing. Each carried actual prison sentences. And because she orchestrated the scheme, she couldn't hide behind HOA regulations anymore. She confronted felony-level responsibility. When my officers escorted her inside, Margaret attempted a typical arrogant routine. This represents a misunderstanding. I intend to protect community. I leaned across the table surface and slid the documentation toward her. Inside, statements from the impersonators, the counterfeit credentials, to surveillance footage from my personal security systems. Her expression collapsed. This doesn't represent a misunderstanding, Margaret, I informed her. This represents criminal conspiracy, and your involvement includes. Her legal representative attempted to argue it, but the evidence remained impenetrable. Within hours, Margaret faced booking procedures. The association's board convened emergency proceedings the subsequent day. Neighbors who previously trembled under her regulations now stooped demanding for immediate removal. The voting proved unanimous. Margaret lost their position, faced substantial financial penalties for legal expenses, and received permanent prohibition from holding any association office. Regarding the 2 impersonating agents, they'll enter correctional facilities limping after knee rehabilitation, probably questioning why they ever agreed to confront me initially. Standing on my porch then later that evening, I consume my beverage while police vehicles continue idling along the street. Justice felt substantial, yet appropriate. The neighborhood finally achieved liberation from Margaret's impressive control, and myself, I represented more than merely their neighbor. I represented their police commissioner. And that's how the association learned through difficult experience. When you dispatch imitation officers against me, you don't merely forfeit your influence, you surrender everything. Authority cannot be manufactured through imitation or intimidation. Actual power derives from legitimate service, not self-appointment. The law recognizes credentials, not costumes.